Canada men's senior team breakdown now. We're going to move into that, and we've got our special guest back, Daniel Haber again. Welcome back to the Snob Breakdown show of some kind. I don't know what it's called.
Yeah. Thank you. I had a lot of fun last time. I hope you guys will have me back again.
Yeah, of course. I'm going to notice you scouted a new location to sit in. It's a little bit of a different background. So I see you're getting in the podcast world where you're scouting behind you.
Yeah, I like to throw curveballs. I don't like to let anyone know where I've been spending my time.
Yeah, I love that. So I'm going to rip the lineup real quick. We've got Alistair Johnson, Ferreira, Stirring, Alfonso Davies, Kay and Piet in the middle, Miller, Corbianu, Witherspoon, and Laren. So that's the line. And Kripo in goal in place of Borjan. I'm not going to say Borjan was dropped after that Declan Hill match-fixing show that he threw in there. But anyway, so I'm going to throw it right away. I'll get our special guest in. Was this the perfect game to throw in Stirring and Ferreira, two center back debutants for Canada who have never played before, getting used to it? Is this a perfect game to throw them in with no pressure and just kind of comfort?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I think that it was about as easy as you could ask for. Just remind me, one of them plays overseas. They both play overseas, but one of them has gone through some terrible injury problems, right?
Yeah, it's Ferreira. He did his ACL not long ago.
So Ferreira, and then Stirring is the one who's not really Canadian, but he has a Canadian mom.
Yeah.
So I have a bit of a hot take on this.
Mm-hmm. All right.
We are the Canadian national team. If we have a player playing overseas like Junior Hoylett, who is playing regular first team minutes in a top league and can come in and be a guaranteed starter and probably best player for the national team, sign him up, get him a passport. But if it's a player that's playing in a second tier league that we're not even sure is going to be on Canada's 23-man roster if we had the most important game tomorrow, why are we taking a spot away from a local Canadian that grew up playing for the Whitecaps or TFC, that's been itching for a chance to get in with the national team, and playing national team games a big deal? So you guys tell me, what am I missing here?
Well, I'll throw it and I'll just throw a few names out before Steve and Jay dive in, but like a Julian Dunn, for example, right? I mean, perfect example of a TFC product, young guy coming in. Sure, maybe he's missed out because of Stirring. So I'll throw it to Steve or Jay. Do you think, somebody who's never stepped foot in Canada should be playing in the game? I mean, examples can go with Witherspoon as well, and Arfield, guys like that were never in Canada before they played for Canada.
I'm torn by this. I think the coach in me is just thinking probably like Herdman, get every single friggin' player you can in the world that has a Canadian baby toes mom who grew up here or something, cap them, put them in your squad, and it's your luxury because you may not be as deep as you'd like. So my coach mind goes right to that. And I just think, no, I'm like Pac-Man, just gobble them up. It's a very good point that Daniel's made. Someone like, Stirring or whatever here, if they haven't played, if they're not in a top 5 league and they're not, that much of a standout, is there a reason? Is there a point? Why have this guy if you're just going to boot him and put Cornelius back in there? Or at least I would hope you do. That is, I have a hard time arguing that with him. I really do. So I'm giving a total wishy-washy answer. I would really hate to see Cornelius get dropped for this guy because I think he's better. Well, from what I've seen, which is not a lot.
That's the key there, is if you bring someone in because he's clearly better and he's clearly making the national team much stronger and he's going to be no one's going to argue that he should be a starter. That's a different story. But if you start bringing in guys that we have players that are local, that are equally as good, and they're going to take away some of the opportunities, what's the point? If it's not actually strengthening the squad, it's just giving us more depth. We have enough depth. We need to give those guys chances.
I wonder, Daniel, and you make me think about this again because I totally agree with Steve, but you're making me think again about it. But I wonder if it's like they're playing Cayman Islands, they're playing a bunch of peasants, so it's like, who cares? That's the time to put him in. We'll see the next game against maybe the last game against Suriname. who he decides to put in there.
But who cares about what? You're telling me there's not a center back sitting on TFC's bench or Vancouver's bench that's an academy kid that's 20 years old that couldn't have stepped right in there and gotten his first cap for the national team and scored his first goal?
But Steve's right, because Steve at that point, Steve's gonna get, or Herdman's gonna get that guy, the Stirring guy, and then that U20 guy at TFC is definitely gonna come anytime. So it's like, get that guy interested, get him hooked, like Steve said. But I see your point. You are right.
What's the upside? And I don't mean to put him down because he seems like he's a good player, but what's the upside here?
I think
you get more players.
I think Herdman must think he's got enough quality to be a starter. He has to. He can't just be willy-nilly doing it. He must think he does. I think Pereira is a different story. I think Pereira has been touted for a long while. The ACLs have hurt him. But anybody who's been at Porto and Milan and has a cap for Portugal, clearly the guy's got something. So someone like that, you can get it. Is this other guy better? Herdman must think he has the ability to be better than someone like a Cornelius, or there's no point in doing it. So
yeah, but that's where I think
it's tough.
Steve and Jay and Daniel's point, like, it's all great points, but coaching hat alone, you're in charge of the national team, you're cap tying as many people.
You want everyone you can, as much depth as you can. And I get that. And it makes sense. It's a business. Like ultimately you want to try to win as many games as possible. I'm just talking from a Canadian soccer perspective.
For sure.
I was growing up in one of the academies and I saw me losing out on an opportunity for a guy that's equal quality, never stepped foot in Canada. It doesn't really doesn't hit you the right way.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I don't think you can argue that. I think your point of, if someone's clearly better and they're better, like we'll go with Pereira as the example for this. Like, is Ferreira? Am I butchering that?
It's Ferreira.
Sorry.
Or I could be wrong. Now I'm doubting myself.
If I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, look, man, this guy's been brought in by these clubs. The only reason he didn't get there is his knee. I'm understanding it, but I think Daniel's point, like, you're sitting at a bench in TFC and some dude comes in and you're like, I'm arguably playing at a higher level, or at least the equivalent. What's the point? That's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a good point. It's a really good point.
And it's not apples to apples with Junior and with Scott Arfield. Those guys were playing the Premier League. Yeah. It was a no-brainer. Bring them in. They're stepping right into the first 11. Give one of them the captain band and let's go.
Yeah.
But this is a different story.
Yeah. True.
True. I agree. So from one nationality to the other here, we're going to talk about Mark-Anthony Kaye. Now, Daniel, last show we brought up and we were like, who's that 8? Who the hell can be that 8 that we have? I think Kaye can be it. Like, I think he's good enough. And like, he might be that one guy, especially if Arfield stays away. Like, I'm going to light a candle on the way home tomorrow that he does come back. But is Mark-Anthony Kaye potentially the answer?
Potentially. I think him. I think Osorio. I'm a big fan of Osorio. I think he's fantastic. My question is, Mark-Anthony Kaye has tremendous ability to slow a game down, right? If you watch him when he's at LAFC, every time he's inside the 36, he makes fantastic passes. He makes late runs into the box. But the game is almost at a walking pace because they're dominating most of those games. Question is, I know he's very athletic, but when the game actually opens up and we're playing against a Mexico and we're defending, does he have the ability, like we talked about last time, to just take a step forward and actually dribble past his man to break the game open? So I think for all intents and purposes, he's in the mix.
He's for sure in the mix. He has to be. He's proven at a good level now. So he's for sure in the mix. I think maybe this the right answer. I'm not sure if he has that in his locker, that extra step, that carry out of trouble. We just talked about it on the last show, and I'm going to be a broken record. I don't know. I'm kind of sold on this Diaz kid from the U23. Like, I see that quality in him. Will he do it or not? I don't know. Obviously he's 18 and it's a roll of the dice, but I saw in that Mexico game that ability from him in those circumstances. And it was impressive to me. Like, he did not have fear. He was brave on the ball. He was gliding past a couple guys. I would love to see him continue to progress. I'd love to see him get a cap with the top team. Why not? We just capped Corbiano twice and look what he did, right? So
yeah. So speaking of Corbiano, I'll throw this to Jay or Daniel. We'll see who's going to dive on this. But Last game, Corbiano came in with 15 minutes left or so against a Bermuda team that was less fit than I am. And he came in and he looked like like a superstar. Different story when you start him from the beginning, and he's playing and I'm not saying he's bad or he's not going to be great, but he definitely didn't shine like he did in the first game, where I think somebody like Witherspoon took the game on his neck and he was everywhere, left, right, center, and even Miller was kind of up and down. So it just shows. I'm going to throw it to Daniel, who's been young and in a thing like that. Like,
You have been young before, Daniel, just for the record.
Been young in a setup in this fashion.
Yeah.
Is it good for kind of Herdman to protect him in this way, like Alex Ferguson used to do, where like give him bits and pieces, don't start playing him every week because maybe the pressure will get too big on somebody?
I'm not sure about the pressure part. Let's speak about the game for starters, and we'll get into the whole Cavallini scoring 3 goals later. But in the first game, like you said, he walks onto the field. There's 15 minutes left. The team that we're playing is absolutely exhausted and demoralized and just wants to get off the field. And he comes in. He's really jacked up. He's really skilled. He comes in. He plays a couple nice 1-2s. He gets himself a goal, and everyone's hyping him up. He's very talented. You can see his talent, but you're right. Yesterday he comes in, he tries to do a little too much, didn't really let the game come to him. He tried to do his step overs. He tried to take his shots. He ended up making a couple really nice crosses, but that's going to happen sometimes when you just almost try too hard against a team that's sitting in. But if you ask me, the guys who performed the quote unquote best are the guys who came off the bench in both games. And I think that says more about the competition and their fitness level than it does about, the quality of the guys that we have.
Yeah, that's true. So I'm going to throw this.
It's not a good. Can I add to that? It's not even a good enough. I totally agree with Daniel. And it's like playing guys from gym class when it's like you do a move and then you just run in square into them and they're like, hey, sorry. And it's like, that's how bad Cayman Islands was. There was like 16,000 defenders in that box. And so I totally agree with Daniel. I don't know if it was a good enough a measure of a game, what it said more about the opposition or us, but I do like him. He's at Wolves. I like his energy. I like the way he drives in, cuts in from the wing. I love that, and his combination. He looks for those. I like him a lot.
Yeah, he's got that swagger that Steve always talks about. The guy who just walks in and is like, he's 18, but he's like, I'm better than all of you. Just look, that look and walk. But from swagger to non-swagger, I want to talk to Steve quickly about a position like a Piet. Okay, I know he does his job well. But I know we touched upon it last show, perhaps. But is Piet a guy that we can kind of plunk in a Mexico game to do a job as that 6 and just defend and do this, or is he lacking just that extra bit?
For me, I'll just be honest of what I think. I think we're past Piet now. I think it's time for the Piets to go. Maybe that's controversial to the 4 people that listen and they don't like hearing that. And maybe Piet finally listens to us and blocks us and bans us and sends me hate mail. I'm not a big Piet fan. Like, I'm not going to what am I trying to say? I'm not going to rip up what he's done. I think he's been a good servant. I think he's done his job for the country. I think he's etched out a good career for him. But for Canada to get to where they want to go, I don't think he's good enough to be on the pitch as a 6, 8, or a 10. I just don't. If you need him as a loyal servant and a depth squad guy, yeah, sure. But for me, I don't think so. I think even in the last game, I'm sure he did his job, but I don't know. There's just something that I'm not a big fan of his, and I think there's better.
Yeah. No, I agree. And this is going to be like a 180 flip for no reason other than I want to ask Daniel. You're the coach of Canada. You're playing Mexico in a big World Cup qualifier. Okay, this is probably the question that's going around the world in the Canada universe. Where do you play Davies? Left back or left wing?
Oof, good call.
Oh, you have to play him left wing. He's our best chance to score. He's our best chance to break a game open and either create a goal or make a pass for a goal. But going back to what you were just talking about, I noticed this in the in the commentary quite a bit that they talk about being a good servant for Canada.
Yeah.
Let's take a bit of a break on that. Playing for your country is an honor, with the exception of Atiba Hutchinson when he's playing week in, week out in the Europa League or the Champions League, or Scott Arfield, guys who are making millions of dollars. There are dozens of players in Canada that would die to put on the jersey and be invited into camps. So when people say he's been a good servant, he didn't have to go to all those camps. He's honored to go to those camps. He's fortunate to go to those camps.
That's a good point.
Yes, he's put in a lot of hard work for the team, as any professional has to. I feel like we need to stop making it as if he's done us a favor. Any player who goes to the national team, it's an honor. It's a privilege. These guys get paid for it. It helps promote their brand. It helps them with their club teams. I think you guys both know, like, Samuel Piette was not anywhere in high leagues in Europe. He plays maybe 35 times with the national team. Then he has a great Gold Cup and gets a move to Montreal, and that kind of sparks his career. Yeah. So the national team servant idea, I'm not so fond of.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think for me, it was trying to sort of lessen the fact that I think he's crap at this point, or not crap. That's probably too far. Like, I can't say someone like that's crap. That's a kind of an ignorant statement. I just think if we want to be at the levels we think we can be at and we're striving to get to, which we had a quick convo before you were on, actually, Daniel, and we should have it here now with all of us. Like, I'm glad we smashed them 11-0. Like, why not? You know, like, I hope Herdman was telling them two things. Number one, 0-0 for us is getting to the same goal difference that Surinam's at. We need to be at a higher goal difference than them. I think they were at +9. So we need to be at least +9 coming out of this game. I think you could see that from the first minute. And Jason mentioned they went and got the ball because I think they knew they needed to get to a certain level. And the second thing is, and I hope he said it, and I feel like he did, is let's not be in these games anymore. Let's be one of the bigger countries who aren't in these earlier rounds against the Cayman Islands, where Jason's saying how crap they are, and rightfully so, they are. Yeah. But we're here because we've had the Samuel Pietts in the past who have drawn St. Lucia 1-1, and we get knocked out in the final qualifying before the Hex or something. So I think to get to that next level, that America, US, Costa Rica, Honduras level, Samuel Piette is a guy who comes in when you have an injury crisis and you need a player and you need a body, and he'll do his job for the country. But you need better than that to be competing where you want to get to. And that's what we should be aiming for. And that's what I liked about the attitude the other day. It was, we're going to break the record. We're going to come out of this ahead of Suriname. We're going to smash these guys, and we're going to show people we don't belong in these games anymore. Like, I enjoyed that attitude from a Canadian team.
1,000,000%. Yeah, I love that. And I'll throw this to Daniel here, because he impressed me. Like, I kept seeing for the last year, for example, Witherspoon's name in every squad. And now I'm like, God, he never played. Like, I'm always, and then I see he wins a cup this year with St. Johnstone, which is a massive thing to do. Like, don't, you know, all the people who smash Scottish soccer around Canada, or that it's not the Premier League. It's not, but you know what? Winning a cup in Scotland is massive. So anyway,
when you're not on Celtic and Rangers,
yeah, exactly.
St. Johnstone, like, that's a big deal.
And so he comes in and gets a rare chance. Again, it's against a crap team, whatever, but you still have to do the business against a crap team. Did Witherspoon impress you?
Beyond. Yeah, I had no idea who he was. He was great. I thought he was the best. I mean, you know, Alfonso's Alfonso, but other than him, this guy was all over the field. He kind of had a no bullshit mentality where he just wanted to keep driving, create goals any way that he can. Like you said earlier, he just popped up all over the field. He's got a great sense for the game. I think he's 31. Yeah. So it's not like he's the future of Canadian soccer, but I mean, if we had a World Cup qualifier against the US right now, should that guy be the starting 8? Maybe. Yeah. I think he's made a case for it. It's possible. He seems to have a lot of energy. He seems to be able to drive with the ball. He can play against men. I was impressed.
Yeah. Is there, Jay, I'll throw this to you, like, trophy count. There's a lot of talk with, you know, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer saying trophies don't matter at this club anymore. You know, it's about progress and this and that. A guy like Witherspoon who's won something, is that not invaluable to have in a team? Medals and trophies and people that know how to win?
That's massive. It's massive. And to be around that, it just success breeds success, and him walking in there with that air of confidence, you see it. And I agree with Daniel. You could see like he was about to fight someone for that ball to get out of the goal after goal one, and with the captain of the Cayman Islands there, and I was like, who is this guy? I was like, I like him. And then he was a part of every little move and every little fast attack, and I really liked his energy and his nose for goal. Yeah, I to have someone like that, winning a cup in Scotland and having a bit of a pedigree. I know it's like he hasn't won 50 of them, but it's like that's important for us. We need that. We need to build on that and keep on adding to it.
Yeah, Daniel, I'm going to throw this to you, since you've probably had this in your career. When you're in a game, you're playing for Canada, you're playing for the Fury, or for, whoever in your career. Do you think it's super important that the coach says before the game, you are taking penalties, Frank? Because when Davies went down in the box, you can see him and Laren right away. Laren's like, I want it. And Alfonso, you could see, he said, no, I want it. So do you think there needs to be that clear distinction? Because I know Steve might be on the other hand. I'm not going to speak for Steve, but it's kind of nice to see players like fight for the ball, because like they want it so bad. But what do you think? Do you want someone appointed?
Yes. Like you said, on any team, there should be at least 4 or 5 guys that really, really want the ball and are confident enough to take it. But the coach has to be clear who's responsible, because it's a responsibility, right? If you're given a penalty shot, it's not like, we have an attack movement. It's like, nope, this is one critical moment in the game. My guess is it may not have even come up, or he may have said, you guys can sort it out on the field, your men. But for a World Cup qualifier against the US or Mexico, he's going to have to say, you're the person in charge of taking this penalty.
I think what happened, I think Daniel, you're right, but I think what happened was I think Kyle was chosen to do it. I'm just guessing. And then Alfonso looked like he was like, Kyle, I got it, because Kyle just scored, I think. And so he's like, gotta give me this one. I need this one. Like, just give it to me so I can have it. That's what it felt like. I could be off, but that's what it felt like.
I think you're right, Jay. That is how it felt like. It felt like Davies was basically pleading to him to say, like, let me get my goal here. And I just went through and I could have finished this. Like, just let me pop it in. I don't know, like, Daniel, you were a striker, and I watched lots of goals from your youth career in Cornell. And like, I watched you a lot and tried to get you here to Ottawa before you actually came to Ottawa. You buried penalties. Like, do you give it up? Do you give that up?
Like, no, but at the same time, yesterday isn't really a very fair representation of anything real. So yeah, maybe Alfonso did give him a bit of the, come on, you just scored, I need my goal, I've got enough rank here to pull. Yeah. But then again, like the announcer said at some point during the game, I think it was Alistair Johnson scored and one of the center backs scored, and 4 guys got their debut goals. And the announcer said, yeah, well, it's too bad, it's not happening in front of a big stadium, where the crowd could really cheer them on. I was like, well, if we were playing in front of a big stadium with a big crowd, they probably wouldn't be playing, and we wouldn't be scoring 11 goals. So goals are a little harder to come by in real games.
Very true. I don't want to beat a dead horse, Mark. And you're just back from your little hiatus there. But I like that you brought it up, and Jay, that you spoke to it. I just want to add my 2 cents, like, because I like to talk. I love the fact that Witherspoon won something. I love that Alfonso Davies won something. I love that Jonathan David's competing for something this year. Like, Lil's playing PSG for top of the table. Like, that's what's exciting this group. Like, if you look at all those big teams and cultures and stuff, well, what breeds culture better than winning? Nothing. And that's going to drive your program. And these guys being at that level, you look at the Spain, what brought them over the hump? Well, they had a bunch of generation of players that had won at the youth level, won at the Euros, won at the Champions Leagues and stuff, and put it together for their country. So I think the fact that we have anybody playing and competing at those levels, and we have multiple now, and even a Mark Anthony Kay. I mean, the guys playing and winning.
Mark Anthony Kay and Osorio. Those are the 2 MLS guys that are winning.
Yeah, there's 2 more. I mean, they're not just on an MLS roster. they're winning. Like it's probably too cliche to make it a point, but it's a massive point. Like, I know we've had some of that in the past, but have we really? Have we just had players do pretty good in different leagues, maybe even more individually than team success? And I don't know. I think it's invaluable. And that Witherspoon, man, he's not just a winner. He's busy. That guy's busy, busy, busy. Like, I love busy and impressive. Anyways, that's my little rant.
I think the next step for Canada, and this is not fact, but it is a strong opinion that I don't just hold myself. But the reason Spain and Germany won those is somebody argued that it was like Guardiola's team. I don't want to get into that, but it's because a core group of those guys won together in the league. The communication level, which we know is the most important thing in football, and then they bring it into their national team. They know each other. There's no, and with Canada, we need that more than anybody because the country's so friggin' massive that how does Daniel Haber play with Mark Anthony Kaye? Like, if they only play a training once in a while, and then they play against. They have to learn against Mexico. You're learning while you're building the plane. You're flying the plane while you're building it, whatever, And so I think the next step for us, and that's why Honduras does so well, they're all playing together. They're all together. Like, I know there's some guys in Honduras all over the place, but like the core of the team, they're together. Mexico.
So, unfortunately for Canada, the only option there is the national team, right? So either these guys are playing together with the youth national team, or once you get them into the national team, we need to be playing our starters every game. We need to have the same three midfielders that understand each other, that aren't stepping on the field for the first time against Mexico.
Yes.
And I mean, I think this goes back to what we talked about last time, which is we have to find a formation and we have to stick with that formation, and mixing the formation up and then all of a sudden going into the most important game that we've had in the last 5 years and changing it to a more defensive style is probably not going to bode well for us.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think you have to, like, it's a overused word right now for us. And I don't want to talk about the golden generation because I think we all hate that, but just the generation of players that's there now, including these Olympic players. The only way they're going to learn, I think, Jay, because I don't think you're going to be able to get them in a Barcelona type thing, is they have to play a number of years in the Canadian setup. Like the Mark Anthony Kays, the Davies, the Davids, all those guys, they're going to have to play Corbianu and learn together with Canada. And I think, to Daniel's point, then you got to start them when they come and play them as much as you can. And that's how they learn, because we don't have the La Liga, we have the MLS, but we'll never get 8 guys on one team that's from the national team. I don't think. It'd be nice to see. But.
And we have to stop being Canadian to the club coaches and the clubs. We have to stop being like, okay, we'll bring Atiba over, but he'll only play this game and this game and that. No, he's with us now. It's 2 weeks. We can do whatever the hell we want. Like, there's no more of these deals, in my opinion. I hate that. Like, and it's to Daniel's point. If we're resting Atiba and Alphonso Davies and this and that every week, or every time they come at one game, they only play. It's like, well, I don't know. I just don't see it.
I thought it was pretty obvious from what I saw that both Alfonso and Kyle wanted to be on the field. Those guys did not want to get off the field. They came here to play. They came here to pump their stats, to get the experience. They like being on the field with the guys. They weren't coming here to get rested.
No.
Very good point.
That's a huge difference as what it was, because not only did they not come to be rested, they came because half the time, 5-10 years ago, we had to beg players to come, like it was a huge.
But
huge
is this a
problem.
catch-22? I mean, I don't know, like, Daniel, if you've talked to even some guys more and know more about this, obviously I don't, but like, is this a game? Like, I know it's in international football, soccer all over the place, but a club like Bayern, like, I don't want to say it, but like Bayern's more powerful than us, and they kind of hold a lot of the cards. Like, is it a game? Is it a dance Herdman has to play? Like, even with Besiktas, like, I agree with you, Mark. I totally want to just say, no, this is who we have for this amount of time, and then we'll send them back. But is it a bit of a dance? Like, to be realistic?
It is. That's what it's become. And I think that's what you're seeing with the US too, especially during COVID times, where I think these coaches are almost like negotiators right now. They have to go to the clubs and say, all right, we want this guy, but here's what I'll promise you. And we're going to make sure that we're safe. And because, in 4 or 6 months, when we want him back for another game, then we're going to have to go negotiate again. We want to keep it on good terms.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Steve. I think you nailed it, Steve, with that, because even
Sucks.
as our players get better and play with better clubs, like a Jonathan David, for example, is in a title race. It's not as easy to get David released, or, that dance is not as easier when he's got to go back and play in a title deciding game. It's easy when we've got guys playing for Glockenspiel in the German 5th division. It's easy. It's like, okay, I'm coming, but like, it's different now. So
Yeah, because he's playing his PSG game this week, right? It's Saturday. Like, so you want him getting hurt against Cayman at IMG Academy because he slipped on the little path where the net is? Like,
yeah,
no,
and
don't.
Daniel hit it with COVID times too, because like Vanessa Gilles for the women that time, like she made a deal to come and play one game in the She Believes Cup and then back to quarantine so she can play. So it's even trickier now, which is madness. But yeah, I mean, with that said, the opposition was crap, everything was crap, but we did our job. Like, we did it. We were supposed to win this big. We've always wanted to win this big, and now we've done it. We've shown that we are outclassing this division that we're in, and we have to keep doing that, because this isn't enough. We can't rest on this. And I think Herdman's really good at that, where he's kind of like, he doesn't let anybody be happy, So I think that's important. So anyway, if anyone has any parting thoughts, take it away, because I don't want to wrap it up if someone's stewing on something big here.
Yeah, a couple more things to touch on. I think you're right there. Like, right now, we've seen from Herdman is he's done well. I don't think there's a lot of criticism here, but we're taking care of business. We're doing what we're supposed to do. We're a way more talented roster with guys that get paid a lot more money and play in much bigger stadiums than the competition. I would say it's easy to just praise everyone right now, but ultimately we're supposed to be doing this. So then what happened in the Gold Cup, that can't happen.
Yeah.
Just like what the US is seeing right now, where their U23s lose. Like, when you do lose, somebody has to take responsibility. What happened when you lose games that you should? So this is all great right now. And I think we're building something strong, but we're not really being tested. So I don't really think we can take that much out of this.
Not a lot to take out, for sure. I think, to your point though, Mark, just doing what we're supposed to do, which maybe we haven't done before when we've had some generations that maybe weren't this good, but we thought were better. It's a nice thing to see. So it's a step in the right direction. Jury's still out. I want to ask, maybe Jay first, and I'd love to know Daniel's opinion as well, not yours, Mark. It's probably a terrible question, and I'm going to admit when Herdman got the job, it's like women's team to men's team. I'll be honest, my first reaction was like, what? That's weird. Why is this happening? I know he did well. This can't be right. So I'll be honest, like, it was a very sexist initial reaction from me. I'm admitting it again to the 4 people listening. What do you guys think about that hire now? And what do you think about just him in general? Was it the right hire?
I think so. Before maybe Daniel.
Yeah, go Jay.
But I think so, because what he's good at is building a culture and building an identity and a game model. And you can see it even against the Cayman Island crap. You could see the game model that he's trying to instill, that they weren't going all willy-nilly. Everyone was following the game model. You could even hear them, the barking orders in every phase of play, and it was almost on repeat. And so I think that's why he was chosen. I think he's a rightful choice. I think he deserves a massive chance, and I actually think he's going to be successful. I believe in him. It's the He Believes Cup.
That's the worst.
I just wanted to get Mark at it. Like, look at Mark. Look at him.
Lost him. Like, he's
like to do that to Mark.
Yeah, I think that there was right to be skeptical. The women's game is different from the men's game. It's not about being sexist. It's a different. It's the same sport, but it's different strategy. It's different tactics. I give him tremendous credit. I think everyone's got glowing things to say about him. I think the biggest difference, though, was that the Canadian men's national team felt to me like a group of players coming in. Sometimes it's the same group. Sometimes it's a similar group who get them together for this game. He came from a women's team that was a program. They spent a lot of time together, several weeks every year, couple different tournaments. he was able to really implement a system. And from what everything that I heard, he had, them speaking on a regular basis. So he just brought that right with him to the Canadian team. And he said, if you're part of our program, you're not just coming in 3-4 times a year for a random game. Like, we're going to have Zoom calls regularly. We're going to have a leadership committee. We're going to do this the right way so that, when we get battle tested, we know each other. We're there for each other. We've been around each other enough time, even if it's not in person. So from everything I've heard, he's doing a great job. I think it's A+ so far, but like I said, the results will speak for themselves.
Yeah, that's a very good point about the program. I think that's what you're getting at a little too, Jay. And if
culture,
culture. But if you listen to like Daniel's examples there, and I knew them from the women's, and I'm glad you brought it up. That's part of getting communication. That's part of getting that familiarity, like that program, that culture. Like, yeah, good point by both of you. That's a great answer. And I feel bad for my initial reaction. You guys made me feel like an idiot. So. Well done.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is it now. I mean, from now until June, July, I mean, now, like, that's when Herdman will get his battle test. Like, now he's going to earn his stripes or
What's
not.
next?
What's next?
Now we got Aruba next. I think it's in March. No, in March.
Yeah, Aruba June 5th.
Yeah, and then
Suriname June 8th.
8th or 9th. Yeah.
And
So
then is that it?
No, and then it'll be July, the Gold Cup.
No. But is that it for this round of the qualifier?
That's it for this round of World Cup qualifiers. So the top of the group moves on. Yeah.
So we have to basically beat that Suriname team.
We have to, depending on goal difference, win or tie. But yes, win the next two and you're through to the Haiti.
Do we know where they are? Is it like to be determined, or they're probably in the States again?
TBD, it says.
Yeah.
Hopefully up here. It'd be great to get that up here. But anyway, yeah. So that's that. And then the Gold Cup comes up, and that's a big. That's a big one. You always want to compete there, and who's going to be there, who's not. That's a whole other topic. But anyway, it's a big year, and Herdman will either earn his stripes or maybe come into the first criticism that he's faced. So that's kind of exciting.
I guess we could talk about it now, right? So what did Canada do with the last Gold Cup? We did pretty well in the group stage. I think we smoked a Cuba team, and 2 guys got a hat trick, and everyone's singing our praises. And then did we lose in the round of 16 or the quarters?
Quarters. Yeah, I think it was the quarters.
But we lost to Haiti.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to lose in the quarters, it's got to be to a better opponent.
Yeah.
Can you guys name one player on that Haitian national team right now?
No.
So to me, I think you have to at least get to the quarters and probably advance.
Yeah. I think the semifinal is a non-negotiable imperative here for Canada. You need to get to a semifinal. It's tough to even talk because I don't want to put down Herdman after we just killed him, but there's built-in excuses already with the World Cup qualifiers leading up, and everyone's saying, well, we're not going to bring Hutch or Davies or any of the big boys to the Gold Cup. It's going to be a learning group and this and that. So
what learning group?
Yeah.
We have like 3 players that play for top teams. The rest of the team should be there.
Yeah.
But also, to me, it's not necessarily about getting to the semis. It's like, can we get in a high pressure knockout game and win? When everything's on the line. There's no more rotation. This is our best 11 players that have to win this game. Can they win?
Yeah, I don't buy now the learning group stuff. Like, to me, this whole group is a group that's together for a good 5-6 years here. This group is learning as a group, not a learning group, like just how to win. And here's another chance to go and win, So if we lose the dance with Bayern this year and they don't release him for the Gold Cup,
he's not going to play in the Gold Cup.
All right, so we lose him, and he's our best player. But like Daniel said, then the rest of them should come.
Well, what did we see a few years ago with Piet? The fact that he parlayed a good 3 games in the Gold Cup into what's now like a 40-year MLS career as a starter every day. Every Canadian player should be biting at the chops to get in that lineup. No one's going to say no to going if they're allowed.
True.
Yeah, I think that's the key if they're allowed. And let's hope, like I said, I would pray for a full lineup at this Gold Cup. I mean, like you said, we need to play and we need to do it. And there's so much coming up that, we can have 50 shows in the next 6 months. So hopefully we can gather together and talk Gold Cup, and hopefully we walk through Suriname and Aruba.
Nice.
But any last words?
Yeah, I'm good. Till the next
Steve,
one.
your jersey is the greatest thing in the world. I want the viewers to see that.
I'll
Ottawa
start bringing
Intrepid.
on some old school jerseys if you guys
Yes,
want.
good.
I
Old
think
school
we need to
Intrepid.
all wear. We need to all wear our oldest shirt the next one.
Brilliant. All right.
All right, boys.